I'd like to explore with you today this experiment in vastness, which is online inquiry. And it was prompted by the fact that I wanted to say good evening to you, as I would if I was at Nothing Missing. And then I became very aware that we are all in different places in time across the northern hemisphere. And I thought of some of the people I know and love, and beside Lake Geneva, where Sophie and Claudine are, it's 7:40 p.m., 14 degrees with sunny intervals. And here in Lancaster, it's 6:40 p.m., 9 degrees with rain and strong winds coming in. And then moving west across the Atlantic Ocean to where Chris is in Massachusetts, it's 1:40 p.m., 22 degrees and sunny. And flying across to the plains of the Midwest to Madison, for Suzanne and Eileen, it's 12:40 p.m., 20 degrees with sunny intervals. And going north to British Columbia, for Donna, it's 10:40 a.m., 7 degrees and light rain. And out into the middle of the Pacific Ocean in Hawaii, for Erin and Ed, it's 7:40 a.m., 23 degrees with light rain. And in feeling the presence of all of you, and in particular those people, I began to feel a texture for each of your precious lives, and how I may never meet you in person, but there's some knowing that goes on in this community by the fact that we meet each other. And I allowed my imagination to think about what your life might be like right now, what you can hear from your room, what the view is out of each window, the particularity of each existence. So there's breakfast in Hawaii, a morning snack on the coast of California, and lunch in Madison. And for us here in Europe, we're moving towards darkness, we're moving towards night. And I would guess that our body clocks are quite attuned to each other, although we're in different locations in Europe. But our body clocks are doing pretty much the same thing. And if you're in the Midwest, they're probably doing pretty much the same thing, because it's around midday, and it's that midday process. And if you're in Hawaii, there's a morning thing going on. There's a complete cycle of resonance with the people around us. Carolyn Atkinson, a Dharma teacher who lives in Santa Cruz, a few years ago she went to the Capitola Book Cafe to listen to the writer Pico Iyer. And she wrote something which really touched me afterwards about the event. And it can apply to an in-person or an online gathering. And she reflects on the coming of the night, which for all of us will happen at some point in the next 12 hours. But in Europe, it's close. And she says it's really so poignant, all of us gathering here, being ourselves, wanting to feel connected, to be seen, to be recognized, to be understood. Then we turn and go into the darkness, and this self that we have constellated, this self shimmers for a while, and then gradually it melts down a bit. I would imagine it even melts down for Pico ear. There he might think, that went well tonight. And then he feels the out-breath. Then there's the exhalation and the self stands still. And then the self drops down a bit. The self gradually dissolves again. The self we create over and over, no matter who we are. The self shines for a time, and then, after the shimmering, there's this drifting down into silence. So Carolyn Atkinson says, then there's the exhalation, and the self stands still. Suzuki Roshi said, calmness of mind is beyond the end of your exhalation. Calmness of mind is beyond the end of your exhalation. Perhaps just for a few moments, if you just attend to your breath, we attend to our breath, and that exhalation and the possibility that calmness of mind is beyond the end of your exhalation. And Suzuki Roshi says, so if you exhale smoothly, without trying to exhale, you're entering into the complete calmness of your mind. I was thinking about this, and it occurred to me, maybe if you're in the morning, you're right across the Pacific from here, maybe inhaling is more something that's present because you're taking in life, you're becoming something for the day, you're becoming this self for the day. And maybe if you get to midday, maybe there's a kind of balance between the two. And as you drift, and you come into land in the evening, maybe the exhalation is the one that meets you. It's an idea. Vanessa Abel, who is the editor of the Dewdrop, recently interviewed Hosan Alan Sanoki, who's the abbot of Berkeley Zen Center, who's just written a book called Turning Words. And he described turning words are words that turn you towards awakening, that change your direction, or they're just something somebody said. A turning word for one person, for another is just something somebody said. And they can be heard in a Zen context, but they're available anywhere, from a passerby in the street, a loved one, a meow from a cat. They're always there to find you. And during inquiry, what we find very often is people finding a turning word that turns them towards awakening, changes their direction. And a few weeks ago, Catherine came forward for inquiry with Flint, and he'd quoted a poem called Cedary Fragrance by Jane Hirschfield. And the last line was, to practice choosing to make the unwanted wanted. To practice choosing to make the unwanted wanted. And for Catherine, that became and has become a turning word. Sometimes in our lives, we don't know whether we've offered somebody a turning word. If we're teachers or parents or whatever, sometimes we don't know what our impact is. But I want to thank somebody this evening who's here for a turning word that completely changed my life. And many years ago, I was doing the Hakomi course, and Donna Martin, who's here tonight, was the teacher. And we were asked to go into groups and to kind of explore something and then get back to her with our thoughts about it and our feelings. And I remember being in this group, and I didn't know what I felt about it. And I realized that quite often I didn't know what I feel about things. So we got back into the large group, about 30 people, and people started feeding back. And I said into the big group, you know, the problem for me is quite often I don't know what I feel about things. And there was a silence. And Donna looked at me and she said, would you be interested in hearing something? So we paused and I let her know when I was ready to hear it. And she said, it's okay for you to know exactly what you feel. It's okay for you to know exactly what you feel. And that turning word was completely life-changing and brought life to me. And I want to thank you tonight, Donna, for that enormous skill and compassion that you showed to say that. And sometimes when I still don't know what I feel about things, I remember Donna saying it, and I say to myself, it's okay for me to know exactly what I feel about this. So it's always with me. So in this interview with Hosan Alan Sanoki, Vanessa Abel said, can you tell me about some turning words for you? And Alan Sanoki said, well, Laurie, my wife, asked a question for all of us. And this was to Master Sheng Yen, who visited Berkeley Zen Center 30 years ago. And the question is, what is the most important thing for a lay Zen student to practice? And I just clarify, not a lazy Zen student, a lay Zen student to practice. And Sheng Yen's response was, regulate your life. Regulate your life. So as you hear those words, where do they land? Do they land in your body? Do they land in your intellect? Do you get busy thinking, how can I regulate my life differently? Or is there a kind of wide, expansive feeling of possibilities, but you're not quite sure what they are? For me, this is a turning word, and it was for Alan Sanoki. It stayed with him for these 30 years. And my take on it is there's two ways of thinking about it. There's an active response and a receptive response. And an active response might actually be to think about how you could regulate your day, your week, your life in a kind of practical way. And the receptive way seems to me to actually look at the much bigger picture. And I've been thinking about how everything is regulating all the time. The description I've had of this kind of flow across the northern hemisphere, and I imagine the the different dynamic activities that happen in the sky and the stars and the moon and the sun. Everything is regulating all the time. So I wonder if it's more to come into accord with actually what is, with the truth, which is about the total regulation. Everything is going on. Flint, our teacher, is currently flying from um, uh, from Austin to Madison. He's in the air now, and as well as us being on the ground here, he's up in the air. And it called to mind something that Suzuki Roshi wrote about flying and about connection and about regulation, and how it reminded me how, in some ways, this whole inquiry is to self-regulate us, to limbically regulate us. If we're actually in a retreat together, we walk together, we eat together, we say verses together, we sleep close together. But here we have this opportunity in this unique community to regulate each other in different time zones. Suzuki Roshi says, "When I was flying back from the East Coast the other day, I saw a beautiful sunset. Perhaps Flint's seeing one now. People on the ground think it is dark and there is no more sun. If you are flying high up in the sky, you still have the sunset and you can see beautiful clouds. It is wonderful to see, but at the same time someone may feel very lonely. Yet wherever you are one with the clouds and one with the sun and the stars that you see. You are still one with everything. That is more true than I can say, and more true than you can hear. That is more true than I can say, and more true than you can hear." So I want to thank you for being those shimmering beings on the screen this evening, those shimmering selves that move through time, and for your beautiful companionship. And if any of aspects of my talk have prompted you to come and meet, please do. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Josh.
Good afternoon, Bridget.
I'm very grateful for your presence and the offering you made of taking us across the Northern Hemisphere together. During the last 30 days of my late husband's life, he asked to be taken to a window at his daughter's home so that he could see the sunset each evening. And he died in May, so he was on the East Coast at that time. He wanted to spend his last weeks in a place that he really loved and had started going to as a 5-year-old little boy. And so we made that possible. And it was quite remarkable because he had asked me the first time I visited there before we were married, we had visited his daughter at that house, and he said, "Now, have you ever seen the green flash?" And I didn't know about the green flash. And we didn't look for it. We all just sat together and watched the sun slowly go below this Nantucket Sound. But it's so important for us to, I think, celebrate those moments of the end of the day and the beginning of the day. And I'm just grateful that you reminded me of that. Thank you.
I love your description, because what my mind is doing, it's creating the window that your husband looked through, and what it might look like from there.
Right.
and the feeling in your heart for it.
Yes.
It's a
Well,
gift.
there's just nothing as vast as the ocean, and whether you're in Hawaii or on the West Coast, or perhaps when you look across a body of water. In fact, there's some saying where people talk about when someone leaves, when you're memorializing or celebrating their life, that they're really they're just beyond the horizon. So you can't see them, but they're still there. And that seems especially true of people who live close to the water and perhaps have done some boating or sailing, is that it's nice to imagine your loved one just out of sight beyond that horizon.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much.
All right, bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, Claudine.
Hello, Josh. Hello, everybody. Today, at the end of Zazen, we had somebody proposed to make a check-in. And I remember saying, well, I feel like a peaceful boat entering a harbor from time to time. And the next minute, I feel the same, like being the same boat in the middle of the sea in storm.
Mm.
And your voice and the words you used, I feel now that I am on the boat in storm, but with a peaceful heart. And I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. And I love that image, of the sea and the possibility of being steady, during a storm and having some flexibility
Equanimity.
to roll with the waves. And, it's a precious thing that you're describing.
And it's a precious gift. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hi, Cassie.
Hello, Josh. It's wonderful to see you.
Good to see you.
I wanted to echo Bridget's statement about how connected I felt by your naming the location and our people and the temperature. It was just really, really wonderful that our Zoom-do is so broad. So my question is also kind of also prompted by what you spoke of not knowing how you feel. And I am noticing that trying to figure out, like, with some discernment of when to offer and when to receive. And I notice that I tend to block the receiving part. And that I'll feel some nervousness, and then I'll kind of just fill that space up. And so I'm at that kind of initial stage of just sort of noticing this now. And I'm trying to figure out how to be kind to myself during the process of not trying to fill the space, not trying to block what might be coming forward. Or it was like a specific incident at the end of a one-day meditation retreat, and a person came up to me, and I could tell that she had been moved by the process of the events of the day. And I'm having I'm doing some self-judging that, when she came up to make an offering to me, that I assumed that it was something about me, not something about like the process, or not about wanting to give me something. So I guess I'm sort of confessing that and looking for.
Got some great questions in there, and what I'm enjoying is the richness of those questions. They're full of potency, and one of the one of the things that come up for me is around, being kind to ourselves, because each interaction is unique, and sometimes we don't know how it's going to go. It'll go how it goes, and there's no right answer. But so firstly, to have some kindness. It's like, oh, it went like that.
Yeah.
And the other kind of thing which I was aware of is we can sometimes think things through, and it's helpful, and I do that. But the thing I was curious about for me in my talk was about the breathing. How much are we present to our bodies when we're meeting ourselves and other people? And that's something that is has such companionship for us if we can do that, because it keeps us in touch with ourselves and other people, and regulates us. I think we can get very stuck with an idea of how to behave. Does that make any sense?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And my first response to hearing that was that it gave a direction for the nervousness.
Yeah.
And so instead of the nervousness trying to fill the space, it gave a direction to ground it and to be present to what was happening.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to alter what was happening.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll go how it goes. There's things we can do to support ourselves mentally, but sometimes it doesn't go well. It just doesn't go well. And sometimes it does. And there's something about, in some ways there's some kindness there, and there's some humor. We do our best, and we keep trying, and well, where are the other allies? To kind of to navigate it with some tenderness and some care. And I can see your intention. Flint talks about let's check our intentions. I really feel your beautiful intentions, and let's have some beautiful intentions to take care of ourselves.
All right. Thank you.
Hi, Sheila. Hi, good to see you.
Good to see you too. I don't think I've ever met with you in inquiry. So, but I'm always very grateful and really moved by not only the content of what you say, but how you say it. You have the most soothing voice that, and it really, like Claudine said, I think even when there's I'm feeling a lot of being tossed in the storm, it calms my heart. And I was in a tornado this week, literally in a tornado a week ago. I'm in Little Rock, Arkansas. And we had an EF3 tornado. And I was at home, and it came right over my apartment building. And I was, for the first time ever, crouched in the bathtub on my second floor apartment. But amazingly calm about it. and it has been, when you talked about the view from the window, everything around me has changed suddenly, as
Oh,
far as just the visual. We were very, very lucky in my building. There are many homes around me that have just simply blown away, and neighbors, and we've been displaced from our building just for about a week. But again, we were so fortunate because we had a place to go, that I happened to be house sitting for a friend and whose home was not affected. But anyway, it's just good to be back with this community. I feel it has taken me a while to know how my feelings were affected by the displacement, not so much by the storm itself, but by the situation of just seeing the impermanence of all things in a real way that I don't think I've ever experienced before. So it's just so wonderful to have this community, to feel like I felt held, even though I haven't been able to see everybody. I didn't have power and that sort of thing. So, but yes, I feel very held in love and goodwill by this community. And it will take a while, I think, to find that regulation. My but the awareness this week, while I've been going through this, has just been wonderful to experience in a way. I think because of this practice, I've never had that before in such a traumatic time. And it's really, really been a benefit to me. And everything that I hear and learn from the people in this group, it's just, thank you all so much. I am very grateful.
what I'm loving in meeting you is I don't know how I would be in a tornado, and so first of all, you talked about the talk that I gave, but there's something in your presence which gives me, which inspires me,
Yeah.
and the energy in your voice and the openness you have about this, what's happened, and that's where you kind of meet something really difficult, and you do your best. And I love, how you describe the process and the support. It comes around. We get support from each other. So I will remember this from this inquiry of meeting you. And like, wow. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi there, Josh.
Good to see you again.
It's really great to see you. I'm so glad that you're here today. It's always good hearing what you have to say. So I think what prompted me to raise my hand is that, strangely, what was a turning word for you landed differently in me, and I'm curious about how it was a turning word for you. You did such a wonderful job of telling the story of Donna Martin, your experience with her, the task, and feeling like you didn't know how you felt about whatever that prompt was, and going back, and I was just like flowing along with you, like the turning word was about to come, and and then she offered it, and for me, I thought I was imagining myself not knowing, because there's a lot of not knowing how I felt too. But I thought it was going to be not knowing is most intimate,
Okay.
because that's been a real turning word for me.
Mm.
And probably being so in my experience that kept me from really understanding what yours was.
Mm.
And I want to know
So that's a
how
great,
that was a turning word for you.
okay, so that's a great question. So as this provisional self, this Josh, Flint once said, you have to have a sense of self before you can start to loosen your sense of attachment to it. So
Okay.
from the sense of Joshiness, it's really important to know what I feel about things. It's a good lens because it makes me truthful to myself and to other people.
Okay.
I'm skilled, and there's a whole background, childhood background there that is part of that.
Mm-hmm.
From not knowing most intimate is where we cross into, I would say, Zen practice, where we go into, it's really hard to describe, but it's different. It's a different orientation
Yeah.
around this
Yeah.
vastness.
Yeah.
So from
Yeah.
this self, this shimmering self that thinks it's someone, it's really helpful to know what you feel about things.
Oh, that is really helpful.
And
And
it's
it's
a
quite lovely
yeah, and it's a relief.
that that helped you own that, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, it's a relief. It's a
Okay.
permission. It's like a
Yeah.
permission. It's okay for you to do that. It's like, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Not knowing is most intimate is a whole other area of connected practice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's
And I think for me, it's been in allowing myself to just not know, not have to always try to figure things out.
yeah,
But that allowing a self or selfhood is also, it feels spacious, it feels loving, it feels quite nice.
yeah,
Thank you for
yeah.
sharing it and explaining it to me.
And I think you really touch on a really subtle point of practice there, which yeah, I thank you for that. It's a really important kind of little area of something really profound. Not
Yeah.
knowing is not knowing is most intimate. As an individual self, it's probably a pretty good idea to know something about what you feel, and
Yeah.
then and then maybe let it go.
What did you say? And maybe what?
And then maybe work towards letting it go.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
And being able to hold both is
yeah,
wonderful. So
yeah,
thank you.
yeah. Thank you. Good to see you. Hi, Rosemary.
Hi, Josh. Good to see you and thank you. So I was going to come forward with something else, and then I realized when the same area that Darcy talked about with you're coming forward with, I'm not sure what I feel, and what Donna said to you. And I got very emotional when you talked about that. Just really. So,
Touched.
yeah, it really did.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, for me, I come forward with the opposite, like, I feel, this, and I think I know I feel that. And I think her intervention like imagining, identifying with you as if it was me, was like, she's saying the same thing to me, but maybe getting to something that's more exactly what I feel than what I think what I always come forward with. And a little bit like what Cassie was saying is to have something to say, to have something that's to offer when maybe I'm not really checking in the
Yeah.
way that Donna's statement to you was really like almost like she could see or certainly feel that, yeah, you really do know, and a little bit maybe of a sensor that is, you know, in the way of being aware of what that is.
Yeah.
And for you, it's I don't know, and for me, it's oh, I know. I don't know if this is making
Okay,
sense.
so what you're saying is you've heard what Donna said to me, and it's resonated with you in some way, but the process is you're kind of making it your own now for your own.
Well, that's, I guess I was just trying to think of why I got so emotional.
Hmm.
And it was, I just feel like, oh, I was found out or something,
Oh,
because, like she's saying to you, it's okay to know exactly how you feel. And if she were saying that to me, um, yeah, it would be something that maybe I didn't want to know about that I felt.
hmm.
And so I always come across, not always, but often with, oh, I feel this and I feel that. Is this making any sense?
It's now making a lot of sense. So
It's like the flip side of your,
yeah, yeah. So there would be something else that would be helpful and appropriate for you to hear, kind of related to that. But because you're Rosemary and you're not me, it has to be titrated for Rosemary.
yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
do you know what that would be? What would you?
Oh gosh. Um, in this moment,
What would you want to hear right now?
I guess a lot of closeness
Yeah.
with you and with the folks here. I can see like 6 people up there. I see Cassie, I see Darcy, Sheila, Jill. Don't know you too well, but I've seen you many times. Claudine, of course,
Okay.
and
So
Randy.
just pause for a moment, and so I'm going to say something to you. So
Can you wait till I get a tissue?
sure, get a tissue.
Okay.
Yeah. Take a little more time, maybe. It's no hurry. Okay. Can you see me? Yeah,
Yep.
I see you, Rosemary. I see you.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. I see you too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe take that away for this week. I see you.
Absolutely. Felt it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Jill.
Oh, thank you. I think I was also very impacted by your turning a word. And I think for me, the statement that came was it's okay for me to trust how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like there's some little shift there from the one that I received. Like, oh, it's okay for you to trust.
Yeah, I think I'm feeling a lot of fear at the moment in my transitions. So just something of you and your presence and being here. It's just lovely.
Well, you know, I was talking about how we regulate each other and it can take us home.
Well, I feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you've helped me regulate tonight. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you, all of you. Yeah.
Thank you. So I think there's just one more person. Hi.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
I'm so glad to hear your presentation, your way of looking at life and yourself and others and the environment and all of that. Anyway, it's beautiful. I enjoyed it very much. And it reminds me of one of the psychotherapy approaches and, researches, and maybe I can mention a few names. Diana Fosha is one of the famous, short-term therapies. And she gives the priority to the feelings, basically, rather than the thinking, the feelings over the thinking. And in other works, as far as mindfulness, again, maybe the most recent ones, the Amishi Jaha, his book in the work and research, that emphasizes the being actually rather than thinking again, and the mode of. Anyway, it was very comforting to hear that from someone with experience. I mean, just made me more confident of the priorities that we need to know or have, and some of them. Yeah, that's basically. I'm summarizing it.
That's so lovely to hear that, Nadine, and I know we've not got much time, but it's actually lovely to meet you and to hear what's happened and to see the the smile on your face from that.
So. Oh, okay. Well,
thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Good to meet you.
It was very helpful. Thank you.
So let's move to our 4 practice principles now, please. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering. Holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher. Being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering. Holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher. Being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering. Holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Thank you very much, everyone. I will see you next week, and Flint will return on the 25th of April. Thank you so much.